Hey Greg, how's it going, dude? Good to see you.
Ryan, it's good, bro. How are you?
All good, man. All good. How's the off season been?
It's been pretty good. It was initially quite wild to begin with. It was my 40th birthday, followed by some motorbike weekends. But I've actually managed to train through it all, and it's been cool. I didn't really take much time off through Christmas um, or the New Year, so I don't know. I think I've ticked over pretty good.
So probably one of the best kept secrets. Obviously, new changes and additions to the syndicate team. Exciting news. I think a lot of people are excited about it and surprised about it at the same time. What are your thoughts on it? I mean, now that it's out and everyone knows what's happening, what are your thoughts on the changes?
Hey, yeah, Ryan. It's been a massive change. You know, we're now up to four riders on the syndicate. We've had a junior in the past when Rackboy was a junior, so having Jackson on the team is not something new to the syndicate. But then adding Nina to the roster is is new, and I think it's really cool. And then Laurie Greenland is going to be really cool having him race alongside myself. I think if we can get the combination right of training and bouncing off each other, we have such different styles of racing that I think we can both elevate each other's game. So that's quite cool.
Yeah.
From a setup side, there's some big change. You know, it's obviously we've got Fox coming on board with the syndicate. This is also something new because the syndicate has always had separate clothing sponsors. So now Fox being a team sponsor is some change. And then for myself, being off Oakley goggles for the first time in my career. I started with Oakley when I was 16 years old. So it's been 24 years of Oakley, and that's going to have changed. And then bringing Mouse on board as well, that's something new for me as well. So, yeah, it's something, a whole lot of change so late in the career is really exciting.
I mean, like you mentioned, the syndicate over the years has always been like a really tight knit crew between the riders. And now with such a big change and new riders coming on board, do you think that will be the same? Obviously, it's something that the team will be striving for. But with new personalities coming on board, I mean, do you think it will be the same? Getting to that tight knit syndicate that we become accustomed to.
Yeah, I think it was quite key in selecting the riders was making sure that the riders were had that same feeling and kind of strive to be in this tight knit group. I think it's so important that the ethos of the team remains the same and that the riders try and adapt to it because it does work. It's worked for many years in the past and it will definitely work going forward. And I'm sure the riders and the characteristics of the riders were well thought out before approaching them.
In saying that, touching on the riders, I mean, this started with Jackson Goldstone. So, first year racing World Cups last year and absolutely killed it. I mean, won the overall, won World Championships. Gets signed up with Red Bull and now starts off this year in the syndicate. I mean, what better way to start off the second part of his season? How well do you know him? What are your thoughts on him as a rider? How do you think he'll progress throughout this year, being a part of the syndicate?
Yeah, I've known Jackson a long time. I met him, sure, probably about 7 years ago at a taco shop in Laguna Beach, and we were both in Oakley at the time. So, he was a kid that wasn't sure of his direction. He was dirt jumping. He was doing the fest stuff. He was racing a bit. And so he was kind of all over the place riding and just enjoying riding, which is really cool. He decided to then focus on last season and put his attention to racing. And man, it paid off, winning all these titles, having the rainbow stripes, and he's still going to another year of junior. It just shows how important it is to have some fun, to then decide which direction you want to go and then put all your attention into it. And I think it's paid off really well for him. As you said, he signed like a new helmet deal. He's now on a pro team. I think he made some wise decisions for such a young guy.
Okay, Laurie Greenland. We know he's fast. We know he's a contender for podiums. What's your relationship with him, and what do you think he'll bring to the syndicate?
To be honest, I don't know Laurie that well, and I haven't really spent a lot of time with him. We managed to hang out a bit in Barcelona in November, which was really cool. Got to know a bit more about him and what makes him tick. And I think what's really exciting about Laurie is he loves surfing, and it's got to be one of my passions is surfing. So I think we're going to be planning a lot of surf trips this year. I think he's a lot better than I am at surfing. Somehow in Bristol, he gets up to the wave pool quite a bit and goes down to, I'd probably imagine, Newquay, which is probably not too far. So he probably spends a bit more time in the water. So I think that's going to be super exciting. But from a riding perspective, he's fast. He attacks really hard. He's not scared to push the boundaries. Possibly a little bit inconsistent, but I feel like where I have more consistency, I don't push as hard as a rider like Laurie. So if we can get that mixture right, which I'm hoping we can, I think both of our riding our results will elevate. And that's really what the syndicate's about. If the riders can really knit together and work together as a team, even though it's not really a team sport, we can bounce off each other and hopefully elevate each other. So I'm excited on that point. I think from a riding and racing side, I think making sure that we do work off each other and bounce things off is super key. And then going forward, I think he's the right guy to take the syndicate to the next level.
And then moving on to Nina. So it's obviously cool to see a female rider join the syndicate. She's received support from Santa Cruz in the past. How do you think she'll fit in? I mean, she's obviously really fast. Has only been racing since 2019 and has had some really good results. Couple of big crashes here and there, which have, in my eyes, have kind of put her off a bit. But she does seem to bounce back. So I think joining this team will probably help her. What are your thoughts? How well do you know her, and how do you think she'll fit in?
So I spent some time with Nina. She was supported by Santa Cruz. Santa Cruz sponsored her program for a couple of years, and she did really well. I think for her it was a great way to understand the industry and get to know how things work. But running your own program and trying to race does detract a little bit from racing. So I think moving to the syndicate can help her to focus more on racing. I think having the support of the syndicate staff from a technical side, mechanical side, will probably help her with the bike setup and little things like that, which, she's got the pace, she's fit, she's strong, she's working on the way she rides a lot. She's always trying to figure out all these weaknesses and eliminate them. So she's got the right mentality to get there. And I think with these little things, she's kind of thrown in, rose up through the ranks quite quickly, but then there's a few little things missing in terms of bike setup and little things that are hard details to learn about in such a short period of time. And I think this will just kind of push things a little quicker for her. So suddenly she'll understand what possibly going on my suspension on my bikes and be able to include it into her racing. I think will help a lot. So I'm expecting Nina to really be up there mixing it with the best of the best in the women's field. I think she's shown in the past she's got the pace. Yeah, she's had some big crashes, but she's also, trained so hard off the bike that she bounces back really quickly. So, she's definitely going to be up there. And I think for us as a team, taking that team overall trophy will be amazing at the end of the season, just because we've got now a full-rounded team with a women, junior, and two elite.
Yeah, I think that'll be cool. I mean, when I saw the lineup for the first time, I was pretty excited about it. I mean, it's a really solid crew, all fast riders, and obviously all with massive potential. So finishing with those results, like you mentioned, at the end of the season is, more than likely. So pretty excited to see what happens this season with you guys. And then moving on to old Steve Peat, the coach. Obviously, he's a massive team player, but give us some insight into calling him a coach? I mean, obviously he's with you guys at each race through the track walks, helping with lines and so on. But give us a bit more insight. I mean, obviously it's just announced that he's a team coach, but what does that actually mean?
Yeah, so Steve's role is, being an ex-racer, he kind of understands what we need to the support that athletes need, and as well as the support on the side of the track. Most teams have film crews and multiple cars down the track. We have Steve Peat. It's someone who understands racing, who understands what line works and what line doesn't, and that gets relayed down to the pits when we finish, during practice, and so we can try these different things and hopefully help our race run. It's worked really well in the last couple of years, so I'm sure it's going to be just as important now. I think we'll probably be able to get a little bit more out of it. Steve's going to be up on track with Jackson. Jackson rides at such a high pace, such a high level already. I think we're going to get this info into our pits a lot quicker than most other teams, and it's definitely going to benefit Laurie and I.
Yeah, that makes sense. When you guys are out testing and stuff, does Steve still ride with you? I mean, you've seen videos of him and stuff. I mean, he's still got pace. I just want to know how fast he still actually is. Where would he pace if he had to race a World Cup?
Steve's definitely still got the speed that he's always had. I don't think he's got the fitness, so it might be hard to place him in a World Cup, but you put him in a section and he'll be mixing in that section with the top riders in the world. You can't get the guy off a bike, so as soon as there's any opportunity to be on a bike and be riding, he's there riding with the boys, and the team.
Yeah. Moving back to the new riders, I mean, are they going to be bringing their mechanics across as well? I mean, is that going to be a bigger addition to a team in a way?
I actually don't know.
Okay, so that's somewhere to see.
I have no idea what's going on with the team mechanics, or I'm sticking with Lyle, and that's all I know. I don't actually know what's going on.
Okay, cool. And obviously a big one is Fox. I mean, like you mentioned earlier, it's a first-time syndicate, as all team riders on the same brand, head-to-toe deal. Going back to you being with O'Neill for so many years, you almost kind of had a signature look with them. What are you looking forward to most now being kitted out with Fox, and what are your thoughts on the brand and obviously a new look for yourself in a way?
Yeah, I had a great relationship with O'Neill. 10 years with them, we had a hell of a good run. Moving now to Fox, obviously quite a different company and different approach to things, and quite interesting as well. They really want to push the boundaries on a technical aspect, and I think we can help Fox help the direction that they're wanting to push. So that's really cool. That's exciting. A company that's willing to push super hard into the technical aspect of what we wear and what protects us. I think that's super important.
And in saying that, do you think there'll be some product developments, collaborations with yourself and the brand?
Sure. I think if there's some opportunity for us to do something together, and if it makes sense, I think we'll go for it.
And any signature designs that we can expect, or something you're not sure about yet?
I haven't actually. We haven't actually started on our designs yet. Right now, we're rushing to get some clothing sorted out for testing at the end of the month. I think once that's out the way, we'll start working on our clothing for the season. So I'm pretty excited. Luke Bruni and Finn Oz looked amazing. I think Fox did an incredible job with their kit in years past. I think going forward, they're going to do an amazing job with what the syndicate wear.
I'm looking forward to seeing that. When do you think we'll see the final look of what Greg Minnaar is going to look like for 2022? When can we expect that?
It's definitely not going to be at the end of the month at testing. I think testing is going to be some clothing put together.
Yeah. For
us to get a feel, understand what it, how it feels on the ride. Maybe a bit of a look, but I think probably at the first World Cup is I'm sure they're going to bounce with something pretty cool.
Okay, awesome. When are you heading overseas? When you go over to start the first tests and stuff for the year?
So our first test is at the end of the month in Portugal. So
Okay.
we're going to go for 10-day testing, which is going to be super cool. You know, the syndicate, or the new syndicate, hasn't really come together as a team yet. So although we know each other, like I mentioned, we don't even know I don't even know who the mechanics are. So it's going to be cool for everyone to get together and hang out and get the syndicate rolling again.
And then from there, are you coming back to SA or staying over for the year up until the first race?
Yeah, I'd probably come back to South Africa. I think the weather's, they've had an incredible winter in Europe, tons of snow. So training is not ideal at the moment. So we, on the other hand, in Maritzburg have had probably the wettest December, January than probably ever. So I'm hoping things will dry out a little bit, get back, do some good quality training, then head to the first World Cup at the end of March. We're going to be ready, firing, new look, and I think it's going to be good.
Heading into the first World Cup in France. Well, actually, let's take a look at the full year schedule. What are your thoughts on this year? I mean, there's quite a few races. I mean, it's 8 rounds, I think, in total. What are your thoughts? Which of the tracks are your favorite? Which ones are you looking forward to?
So I haven't actually looked at the full schedule. I know it goes March, France, Lords, which is not, it's an okay track. Actually, the last time I was there, I had a pretty good race. But it's going to be very cold, very dark. It's very early for us to be in France.
Yeah.
Very early part of the year. So I don't think weather's going to be super ideal. And then at the end of May, we go Fort William, and that's always just a great track and a great race. So I'm excited to kick it off there. And then I actually don't even know where we go. I'd imagine we do the Leo Gang. I know there's Switzerland, Andorra. Andorra's got a new track.
Oh, cool.
That will be my home away from home race.
Yeah.
And I just take a few races at a time, kind of prepare for each one, for each kind of block, and take it that way. I don't really look at it as a whole. Obviously, I'm gonna try be mixing it up with the guys for the World Cup overall, and then World Champs is in Leger, which is a great track. It's going to be a real tough race. The French really push hard when they're racing in France. And somehow there's a lot of them, and they're all pretty damn fast. So that's going to be an interesting World Cup, World Champs. But in saying that, I think we've got a hell of a good chance. I think last year on this new track that they've created, we were up there, even though we had a bit of a rain issue.
Yeah. They finished 7th in the World Cup last year.
Yeah, it still worked out right. So I think the track works well. I think the guys have put in some great effort trying to build a new track in the show. But that's going to be a very interesting World Champs.
It's something we always ask you, and I think it's going to probably be the same answer, but maybe there's a couple of new names in the mix. Who do you feel is going to be your main competition this year?
Yeah, it's funny. Every year we get asked the same question. It's so hard to pluck out some guys. Let's think. So going to have Luke Broody. He's going to be up there. Loris Vergier. You got Amaury Pierron, who came back strong at the end of the season. You got Thibaut.
He was incredible last year.
Yeah. He got injured towards the end of the season, so it's going to be interesting how his off-season's gone, see how he comes back from the injury. And that's like a roster of Frenchies. Then I think from the English side, we've got obviously Laurie Greenland now coming on to the syndicate. I think this is going to be a great combination for him. I think he'll be up there. Mixing it. Who else is there? I mean, I can't think of...
There's so many names. Obviously, with the French guys.
You've got Troy Brosnan, of course. Troy's super consistent. He'll definitely be up there. And so what we've got an Aussie, we've got an Aussie, we've got one English, and we've got 5 Frenchies. And I just can't think of anyone else that.
I mean, there's a lot of fast guys at the top now. So I mean, it's going to be. Last year was an interesting season to watch. I mean, super exciting. I think this year is going to be the same, if not better.
I mean, we just spoke about what 6, 7 riders that we think might come here. So it's like,
no, it's crazy actually.
Pretty stacked field.
Yeah. Just moving back to the World Champs quickly, happening in August in France. What do you think is going to take to defend your World Championship there? I mean, you know the track. You just mentioned it's a good track. You got the French guys, which is obviously going to be, like I said, pushing very hard there at a home race. From our side, obviously, we'll be rooting for you to defend the title. But from your side, what will you be doing leading up to that race, and what do you think it's going to take?
Well, I mean, the simplest thing to just be quicker than them will help you defend it. But I think, Leger is it's a pretty tough track. It's super steep now. It's got some really steep sections, really high speed up top. And I think it's going to be important getting to Leger injury free and making, a lot of guys got hurt there this year. A lot of women got hurt as well. I think it's a track that can take you out quite quickly. So you really need to build up to that final race day. Kind of like a Val de Sol.
Yeah.
But just with the speeds being a little bit higher, you're going to have to take it easy to build up. And that's going to be key, making sure that you build up at the right time, because practice is a bit longer. You've got more days of training, and making sure that you're peaking at the right time on the track is going to be important. But I expect that race to be super hard. It's very rooty in the woods. There's some really steep sections, very deep ruts, and then of course some treacherous jumps, which we saw a lot of action from last season. So it's get up to be a really spectacular race.
Looking forward to it. So yeah, I mean that's pretty much all we have for you. Excited to see what the syndicate does. Excited to see all 4 riders and see how they progress through the season. Obviously, from our side, rooting for you and representing South Africa. So I just want to wish you the best, wish the team the best. And yeah, watching from behind the scenes, looking forward to what happens.
Hey, thanks a lot, Brew. And yeah, we'll definitely be giving it a good run. And any sneaks of some cool clothing that makes its way out or anything else, I'll definitely forward over.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Thanks, Greg. Appreciate the time as always.
Hi, Brew.
Back up.
Ciao.